Okay, I'm going to just do a slow scan down, then do a close-up. I'm going to do a little demonstration on how to make wood grain. One of the things artists do is make things and put little Easter eggs. I don't know, it's a weird thing that we do. Right here's a little duck. And you might go to here. I guess you can see the little goldfish there. There's kind of an old man. Try not to make it too obvious, though. The one coming up, the teddy bear, I don't know. It just happened to work out that way. Anyway, so I'm going to do a demonstration on the other side. Something similar to the same techniques, but this is going to be a lot of vertical strokes up and down blending into each other. So I'll see if I can do that. Now, this is what I was talking about, anthropomorphic. Now, I just kind of passed over this, but I'm going to zoom in really close. So this is kind of taking a, I don't know, a creature look to me. For me, it's like this thing right here, right there, has its mouth open. There's some weird looking teeth there. And the tongue is pointing out, and there's like a little pearl inside the mouth, and you can see the two nostrils and little highlights in the eyes. So that's what I'm talking about. Those, I guess they are hidden little things that nobody will really see unless I explain it most of the time. Some people will automatically see things like that because that's the way the brain works, but just wanted to give you another example. And you can see the lines going around now, and those I made it, this is a bigger drop so you could actually see through, so you can see the lines coming through, and that helps with the effect of water drops also. Okay, so I'm gonna have to apologize. One of the problems with zooming in and out is I was doing a demonstration on this water drop here, and I just barely caught the edge because I was zoomed in. And let me just kind of explain what I'm doing. So that's some of it coming through. I pulled out the color here and at the top, and then added a little bit of white, and it made a dark shadow underneath. Here's another example that you can see what I'm talking about. You can see it's kind of lighter here. You can see the grain patterns. So I'm talking over what I'm explaining. So I'm going to just let you know what's coming up after this, so you can see the shadows underneath there and little bits of highlight. So that's kind of what happened there. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of wood grain on the other side. I'm going to get it started and then zoom in closer so you can see the detail. So I'm going to start off with some ochres. This is, again, imaginary. Sometimes it's better not to know or have reference, because then you can't make mistakes. So that's a good thing. So I'm just kind of laying a foundation, and I'll build it up. And that's the thing about layers. You know, you get something going, and then as time goes on, you just keep layering up. And I can see it's just a rhythm now. There is no right or wrong way when you're just enjoying the random flow. So I'm kind of just doing these vertical lines, and I'm kind of seeing what's happening as it melts in with its surrounding. It gives me kind of a, I'm going to say, a direction that takes something on its own. Now, I don't know how close I am on this, but I'm going to stop right there and then zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. At some point, because I don't want it wet on wet completely, I need to have it dry. So I'm going to come in. That seems pretty good there. Maybe move it into the middle. So now I'm going to pause it and let it dry a little. Okay, so I let it dry. It's somewhat damp. I did a little bit more work on the bottom while the top was kind of drying. Now, I'm not going to put massive amounts of water drops in here. This is just mainly to let you see how this works. Now, and this is what's so awesome about watercolors versus acrylics or any other form. You get this natural blending, things happening by accident and somewhat planned sometimes, but you can't really say, okay, I'm going to do exactly this, because it just doesn't work that way. Because things flow into each other. They have some of these really beautiful blends like this. I could live in this little section right here. It's like darks against the lights, against the golds, and then you have these little teeny little dashes that is wood grain, but it just so happened to happen when I was doing it, and I just kind of enhanced it so that it looks like wood grain. But I mean, I did kind of use wooden planks that I have in my bathroom, kind of a teak wood. But once you start painting, if you try to copy every single line, everything you see, that flow of natural painting of watercolors takes a hit and it'll look stiff. So when I'm doing these, I'm not using the reference anymore. I'm just going with the flow of what's happening here. And you can see it's just bleeding in right there. And I can move. Now, if I had a knot in here, I would go around it the way knots seem to appear. And you see things going around it. It's not really a knot, but I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So let's just say this is a knot. So if I'm doing these small little lines, and I'm aiming for that supposed knot, I'm just going to go around it and work its way down. I'm going to come this other way and go that way. And you can see just by having something there and going around, you can see the wood grain patterns. Now, for me, this is more fun than anything, because I'm surprised at the end, because it's all imaginary. If I was on a project and somebody said, okay, we need oak, I would have to use real reference of oak and follow those patterns to the nth degree. But like I said, I'm just painting for fun. And like I said, I'm just going to put a couple of little things in here. And so maybe I'll just do this little one side dark, so you have this nice blend in between each other. But this is just good practice to get familiar with watercolors, because pretty much you won't know what's happening, and there is no right or wrong on this. I mean, it's however it works out between the flow and what's happening. Like I said, I was going to put one water drop just so you understand what's going on. So, and it's not going to be that big, but just so you understand the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, I'll just do one down here. So I'm just going to do, and water drops don't have to be circular. It's nice, and that's what your mind says, that all water drops are circular, and it's not true. Water drops take all kind of shapes, and that little teddy bear or those ducks are, and I'm going to show you another knot hole that I didn't really focus on, and I didn't really kind of explain myself, but I'm going to explain what happens sometimes. For some reason, and I guess it's a lot of people that do this, I'm not the only one. I end up making anthropomorphic designs, human forms. And a good example of that is I was doing a Bryce painting. That's my favorite place to paint. Been going there for 50 years, 40 something years, 50, when I was a kid. And it's just fascinating to me. But I was doing one rock structure, and it was just like I couldn't help myself. I start seeing faces in all the rocks, and just kept adding more. And then there was Native American faces in the rock formations, and then there was 2 gorillas, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I'm just pulling out the highlight right here. Now I'm going to come down the bottom to make a little bit darker. Now if it doesn't work out, it's because it's still wet. I usually let it dry some, and I'm just blending this out so I don't have that hard line. And I'm going to come back in here and pull out more of a highlight. And this will set it up so, and you can see it's getting lighter slowly. And I'll just blend. Now I'm going extremely fast, so kind of bear with me. If you attempt this, spend 2 or 3 times longer than I do. I'm just rushing in a sense, just for teaching aspects, and that's what I'm doing these things for. And I try to cover a lot of bases. I'm not just doing dinosaurs or wood grain. I'm doing anything that comes into. I have a whole collection of insects that I do. I have kind of surrealistic looking paintings that I use the watercolors, and that's all I've been using lately, is just watercolors. So I'm doing seascapes, like I said. I'll do birds, fish, coral. The list just keeps going on and on and on, and it just trying to show you all the different techniques that I could use this technique, not just in 2 or 3 different things, not just natural looking images, but surrealistic, which I enjoy. Now this is something which I'm gonna have to show you, because it's kind of like, okay, so I worked this. Now this may look all right to some people, but it just bothers me. I hate to see this really hard lines, and I always talk about blending, and it's just not a wet brush. Make it damp so that it just doesn't wipe everything out, and that small little blending just enhances the look of wood. I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen where there's a little sharp little line. That happens in wood grain, but it's kind of like, for me, it looks more natural when things are blending into each other. You can see I'm just going to blend that out a little bit, and I may come in a little bit, and a little bit right here. So you can see what I'm doing. Now this is, like I said, this is just an example. And anyway, so that's kind of what I was trying to. Now I'll just pull this tape off. This is that removable tape. And I'll come from this side and then this side and then make a little, like they're kind of sections. Okay, so I explained I do a lot of different things. Not only, you know, wood grain or dinosaurs, but a lot of different things. And if you go to my channel, which is Nevets Design on YouTube, you'll see something that says Art Studio. And the Art Studio shows a lot of different things. It doesn't show very many sculptures. Most of my sculptures are still at the museum. There is sculptures at the Los Angeles Zoo. There's like 20 of them. And there's 15 20th scale whale models at the Long Beach, well, Leo Cabrillo Aquarium that are on display. But anyway, so there's another avenue. And it's the art studio is a little bit long, but there is a lot of things to see. Thank you. Hello, I'm Steve Melendres, a model maker, illustrator, scientific illustrator, sculptor, design natural history museum in Los Angeles. Done a lot of different things, but I'm going to be doing watercolor demonstrations of the techniques I've developed over the years. And it's going to go from a lot of different directions. And also I'm going to be doing videos, I call them video posters for my daughter. So a lot of stuff that I can leave to my daughter about her crazy dad. So I'm taking a lot of different directions, but mainly three. So anyway, that's my introduction that I'm going to attach to everything I'm doing now, so I don't have to repeat this. Be careful out there.